Hello everyone, my name is Olivia, and today I wanted to recommend a ton of cozy movies that are perfect to watch during autumn and winter time. So I have this split up into three different categories. We have general cozy movies, we have some cozy movies with a little bit of a heavier theme to it, and then we have some animated films that I highly recommend. So let's start with the first category, general cozy movies. And I'm going to try and be very quick with each description of each film because I have a lot on this list. So the first movie that I have to recommend is Julie and Julia. This is directed by Nora Ephron, who is the queen of cozy films. Her ability to capture the essence and warmth of the early 2000s is phenomenal. Every movie feels so comforting and lived in, and Julie and Julia follows Julie Powell and Julia Child, and it's split up into two different timelines. We follow Julia Child, who moves to France because her husband works at a job that requires him to travel a lot, and when she's in France, she is trying to discover what really makes her passionate in life, and she eventually finds out that it is food and cooking. And we follow her journey from her initial experience with cooking professionally for the first time and her eventual rise to fame as Julia Child. Then we follow Julie Powell in the present day, and she is working a dead-end job that she doesn't feel passionate about, and she finds comfort in Julia Child's cooking show and cookbooks, and she decides to challenge herself to cook, I believe, 3 recipes of Julia Child's cookbook a day for the entire year. It's such a warm-hearted movie, both following Julia Child and Julie Powell's separate journeys and how they interconnect over time. It is such a great reminder to find the thing in life that makes you feel alive and to chase after it no matter how much people will make fun of you, no matter how many people will doubt you. Highly recommend it. Nora Ephron can do no wrong when it comes to creating a beautiful, cozy film. Another movie showcasing the early ages of the internet is You've Got Mail. This is yet another Nora Ephron film, and I completely forgot about that, and it's such a great reminder that she creates such amazing rom-coms and also just comforting movies like Julie and Julia overall. So You've Got Mail follows 2 very different people. We follow Joe Fox, who is kind of like the equivalent of the owner of Barnes & Noble, and then we follow Kathleen Kelly, who is running an independent bookshop when they fall in love anonymously through emails, and they don't realize that they are actually rivals in real life. You've Got Mail is another movie where the set feels so warm and lived in because, again, Nora Ephron directed it, and she has the ability to make a set and a wardrobe feel so authentic. And I think in movies today, all these homes and all these wardrobes feel so pristine and so unlived in. These homes are perfectly curated, they're not cluttered, their outfits are all brand new, and that's not how people actually live life. In a Nora Ephron movie, they wear clothing like this, where it feels lived in, it feels cozy, it feels comforting. And You've Got Mail overall is a fantastic movie starring Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks, and they have wonderful chemistry with one another. Their banter is amazing, and I just want to live in Kathleen's independent bookstore. It is so cozy, and it feels like the best bookstore that I wish I could visit. I feel like I'm always recommending this movie, but you have to watch The Parent Trap if you have not seen it before, or if you have not seen it in a while. Rewatching The Parent Trap reignited my love for that movie because it is one of the most wholesome, warm-hearted films that actually made me cry because it's simply so beautiful and showcases the importance of family and connection, and it is just such a fantastic movie. I think it's Lindsay Lohan's debut film, and she is just an amazing star, being able to play 2 different girls who have very distinct personalities, who meet together at summer camp and realize that they are long-lost twins whose parents separated them at birth when they divorced. So they decide to crack a plot to bring their parents together and hopefully make them fall back in love. It's such an outlandish film, and the plots to bring these parents together are not realistic, but if you let that go and you just enjoy the beauty of the soundtrack, of the connection between Lindsay Lohan's characters and the connection between these 2 parents who still have that spark between one another, you will fall back in love with The Parent Trap. There's something magical in The Parent Trap, and I'm always looking for a movie that kind of feels like that feels so wholesome and beautiful. So if you have any recommendations that you think I should watch, please put them down below. The next movie that I have to recommend is a blanket recommendation for this director overall. I would highly recommend checking out any movie from this director, but this is a very cozy movie that I just fell in love with, and it is The Grand Budapest Hotel, directed by Wes Anderson. This is a movie set at the Grand Budapest Hotel, and we follow Ralph Fiennes, and he is trying to maintain a very pristine hotel. On Letterboxd, it says that the story involves the theft and recovery of a priceless Renaissance painting, the battle for an enormous family fortune, and the slow and then sudden upheavals that transformed Europe during the first half of the 20th century. And this movie is both so wholesome, but also so outlandish and hilarious and somewhat serious at moments, and Wes Anderson is able to juggle all those different emotions and kind of let them all have their moment in this film, and it's so beautifully shot. It's a feast for the eyes. Every single movie of his is very aesthetically pleasing, but I especially love this one because not only is it set in a hotel, which inherently feels very cozy and warm, and it's also set during the winter time, but it also has this beautiful pink hue. You don't see pink as the kind of showstopper color of a film that often, and Wes Anderson really leans into these pastel colors in all of his films. All of his films have a general sense of wholesome coziness that makes you feel comforted, and this just happens to be one of my favorites. So if you have seen Grand Budapest Hotel, I would highly recommend watching another film of his to see if it becomes a new favorite of yours. A classic film that I have not seen in years that I actually want to rewatch myself that I would highly recommend is Mary Poppins. Mary Poppins is one of those classic childhood movies that I'm so sure you can rewatch and appreciate the level of skill that each actor had to bring that film to life, because not only is Mary Poppins just a wonderful, very wholesome story, but it's also a musical, and we also have Julie Andrews, who is a fantastic actress who embodies this general sense of warmth and comfort that not a lot of actors have. It's just one of those movies that makes you realize they don't make films like that anymore. I've never seen the remake. I don't want to see the remake. I know it's not for me. There's nothing like a classic live action Disney movie, and it's just something that you will never see again. And it's both sad but comforting to know that that era of film existed, but we'll never get it back again. There's just that general sense of warmth that I don't think Hollywood has anymore. Another movie that feels like a warm hug, and I'm going to recommend all of them, are the Paddington movies. I have not seen Paddington in Peru. I was actually planning on seeing it in a flight that I took this year, and I just kind of miscalculated the first movie that I was going to see, and I didn't realize it was like 3 hours long, so it ate up most of my flight, so I wasn't able to see Paddington in Peru after that film. So I still have not seen Paddington in Peru, but just know that every Paddington movie feels like the most innocent, beautiful, wonderful experience ever. If you don't know what Paddington is about, we follow this bear from Peru. Yes, he's a Latino, and he gets lost on a ship and ends up in the UK, and this family finds him and names him Paddington after the subway stop or the tube stop that he was on. So he was on Paddington. And we follow Paddington's hijinks because he is a talking bear and he loves marmalade, and he gets up to a lot of shenanigans with the kids that he lives with, but overall with the people that he meets along the way. And even if you don't have kids and you're like, why would I watch a kid movie? It just has that warm sense of whimsy that you don't see often in movies nowadays. Now we're getting into the second category, which are some heavier, cozy movies. So these deal with a little bit of a heavier topic, but they're not necessarily full-blown sad movies. I just want you to know that they're not necessarily like pick-me-up movies. They're still very comforting and very cozy, so do keep that in mind. So the first movie that I want to recommend is a movie that has been remade over and over and over again, and I would recommend every single one of them, and it is Little Women. And I believe I have seen every single Little Women adaptation, and I would recommend them all because they all bring something something new to the table when it brings to life the story of these four sisters who grow up and grow older together and fall out of this bliss of childhood and enter the world of adulthood. And it's such a beautiful journey that is greatly inspired by Louisa May Alcott's personal life. Their relationship is so beautiful and authentic and messy, and sometimes they hurt each other in the meanest ways, and sometimes they comfort each other in the best ways. I personally love Greta Gerwig's adaptation of Little Women the most. I think that's the one that I connect to the most, but I think they're all so wonderful, and they all have something to be valued, and they all have something different that makes them stand out against one another. And overall, this is a fantastic set of book to movie adaptations where I recommend every single one because I do think that they're all wonderful in their own way. Another cozy movie that I have to recommend is The Holdovers, and it follows a university where some of the kids aren't able to go home for Christmas time, so they are considered the holdovers, and they stay with this very strict, very old-fashioned professor, and we follow our main character who is kind of abandoned by his family, and he doesn't necessarily truly feel loved, and he's having like the worst Christmas season ever, and he's stuck with this teacher who he does not like. And what makes this movie so cozy is that it's set during the winter time and it's set in New England, so it has that beautiful architecture that feels very warm and inviting. It really made me appreciate the relationships that were formed over the course of this Christmas break, and that's why I put it in the heavier category, because all of these characters are really going through something. They're going through their own journeys, and they have these preconceived notions of one another, and they think that they know the other person, but in reality they don't know each other at all. But once they finally do get to know one another and they get to know each other's pain and grief, they realize that they have this shared connection, and it's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful Christmas movie that I can see myself rewatching every single year. Definitely do keep in mind that it does touch upon heavier topics, and it's not necessarily a lighthearted Christmas film, and I think it was just fantastic. Another movie that showcases the beautiful connection of community is 20th Century Women, which I constantly recommend on this channel. But we follow a single mother who lives in a very large house, and she decides to rent out her extra rooms to a ton of other people in town, and she is raising her teenage son when she decides to enlist the help of these roommates to help raise her son together in a very communal type of environment. But when these people insert their own beliefs onto this teenage boy that the mother doesn't necessarily agree with, what happens then? That's the price of community. It's such a fantastic portrayal of not only that time period in America, but also the beauty of this village raising this child. And it showcases these people from very different walks of life coming together and connecting very similarly to that of Holdovers. It's such a beautiful film. It really moved me in a way that I can never truly describe. I just do think that a lot of people should add it to their watch list. And we're finally up to the third category for this video, which are animated movies. And the first movie that I have to recommend is one of my favorite movies of all time. I have rewatched this over and over and over again as a child, and it is a very underrated Disney movie, and it is The Aristocats. The Aristocats is basically like the title, follows a mother and her kittens who are aristocrats, and they are very fancy cats. They live a very cushy life, but what happens when the butler wants to kind of kill them because they are set to inherit everything from their owner? It is so whimsical, it is so wholesome, it is so lighthearted. It just feels like a warm hug every time I think about it, and it's another movie that I definitely do want to rewatch as an adult, because I remember watching that nearly every single day as a kid. And another movie that I watched literally every single day as a child is Beauty and the Beast. Beauty and the Beast is my Disney movie. I love Beauty and the Beast in a way that I cannot truly describe. I love all the songs, I love all the characters. It's just a fantastic movie, and no, I am not talking about the remake. That is actual trash. That's horrible. I hate it so much. The next animated movie that I have to recommend is Tangled. Tangled over Frozen. Chime in the comments if you like Tangled over Frozen or if you're a Frozen truther. There's something so comforting about the world of Tangled, from Rapunzel's tower to the kingdom that she eventually visits, to the music, to all the characters. They're so lively and vivacious, and all the songs are beautiful, all the dances are gorgeous, and her relationship with Eugene is just fantastic. It feels like eating soup at the Renaissance Fair. There's a very specific vibe to that, and that's what Tangled embodies. And the last movie that I have to recommend feels like a warm loaf of bread, and it is Kiki's Delivery Service. I would highly recommend any Studio Ghibli film because I do think that they all have a certain level of coziness that is undeniable, but Kiki's Delivery Service, in my opinion, is the coziest Studio Ghibli film. If you disagree, please put your cozy Studio Ghibli film in the comments. But we follow a young witch whose name is Kiki, and she decides to run her own delivery service because she's able to ride on her broom and kind of get across town very quickly. But what happens when she burns out when running her own business as a young witch? This movie is not only whimsical and beautifully animated, but it's also an important discussion of burnout and what happens when you love something and you turn it into your career and then you get tired of it. It's beautiful. It's very comforting. It has a lot of beautiful moments where they showcase food, and overall it feels like cracking open a warm loaf of bread and kind of diving in with a nice swab of butter. And Kiki's Delivery Service is definitely one of my favorite Studio Ghibli films of all time, but overall, check out Studio Ghibli if you have not before, because all of their films are gorgeous, their aesthetics are beautiful and very distinct, and it all feels very comforting. Except that one movie that I have not seen yet that's set during World War II. That one is not comforting at all, and I know a lot of people say it'll make you sob, so don't watch that one. Watch any other Studio Ghibli film. Those are all the cozy movies that I have to recommend for fall and winter time. Let me know what are your top 3 cozy movies that you rewatch over and over again. I will love to add more to my watch list. If you want to follow me on Letterboxd or Instagram or TikTok, all my links are down below. I post a lot of content there that you don't see here. And if you've made it this far, comment a coffee emoji so we can see who stays for the longest. If you do, I appreciate it, and I will see you in another video very soon. Bye!